Hi, Alan Shimel, DevOps.com here at IBM InterConnect. Happy to be joined by Hayden Lindsey, VP DevOps for Enterprise Systems at IBM. Hayden, welcome.
Thanks a lot, Alan. Good to
I
be
think
here.
that, thank you. The last time I think we spoke was probably DevOps Enterprise Summit in San Francisco
Very well, could have been.
and the garage, the IBM Bluemix Garage
Yep.
method opening.
Yep.
But we're here now at at InterConnect, Hayden, and a lot of news coming out, a lot of news around the whole enterprise DevOps space as well. I wanted to focus in with you today, though, on a specific topic, and that is, if I could put it in my own words, the difference between bi-modal IT, as some call it, and multi-speed IT, as I think I prefer to call it. And it's more than semantics and words. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about what you see as the primary differences there?
Right. Well, I sometimes take a little bit of an extreme perspective on things, but my extreme perspective is that bimodal or two-speed IT is actually a modern version of snake oil.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is it suggests that the one side of things are going to be much slower than the other side, and that this is somehow acceptable. And to me, there's no way to think about this. If you take lean manufacturing,
Mm-hmm.
philosophy and say, okay, well, I've got two pieces here, and of course, it's more complicated than just two pieces. But the system of engagement teams are operating real fast, being real agile, embracing DevOps, and the system of record teams are just focused on stability. They're going to be slower by definition. Then that becomes your bottleneck. That becomes a stage
Constraint.
where all your work is piling up, and that cannot possibly be good for the business because you're not able to respond to the business at the speed it requires. On the other hand, a variable speed or multi speed approach says, at least my view of that says, you deliver at the speed the business requires. And sometimes you're, in all likelihood, you're going to put out more frequent updates to the system of engagement applications. But in cases where there are dependencies on those backend systems and the backend has to change as well, it needs to be able to operate with exactly the same speed. So you need to have the capability to deliver with the same speed, but the business probably doesn't need you to update your mission critical Kix COBOL application dozens of times a day. You just need to do it when the business does require it.
Require it. And I think that, so Hayden, I think you hit something right there, and that is that it's really about what does the business
Exactly.
require,
Yeah.
not speed for speed's sake alone is not necessarily it. This whole thing with the multi-speed and bimodal and two-speed. I've spoken to a lot of people about it, and I've heard some people say, well, look, it's almost like treating, the learning disabled little sibling.
Right.
Well, we're just going to let him go along at his speed. After all, there's nothing we can do. And that to me is just, it's wrong when you do it with kids, and it's
Yeah.
wrong when you do it with,
Absolutely.
with your back end systems. You can't create a have and have not IT
Right.
infrastructure and
And do what the business needs.
and still right
Right.
and still perform.
Right.
Not in today's world, right?
Exactly.
You'll become a loser real quick. So I think that's one element of it. The other element of it, though, Hayden, to me, is the whole by meaning two or two meaning two speed, as in
Right.
two. So like the father from a big fan from the Greek. But in any event, there's more than two speeds in every organization
Exactly.
today,
Yeah.
right? And we're not always going. I mean, for one side to go as fast as they can, just for the sake of going as fast as they can, while the other side maybe can't. That just takes the whole thing out of
It gets them
whack anyway.
out of rhythm. And so to me, you need to have the capacity, the ability to deliver just as quickly on your back end as you do on the front end, which means there are a lot of hurdles to overcome in the vast majority of enterprise shops because there's not the degree of automation. There has not been the degree of focus on agile and DevOps in that portion of the enterprise as there has been on the front ends. And
Yep.
so that's a problem. It's an inhibitor, but it's an inhibitor that can be overcome.
Yeah.
And it's overcome by changing your process, changing your culture, and then leveraging tools in support of that that give you the automation and productivity and the confidence that you're not jeopardizing the stability that you still require in those enterprise systems.
Absolutely. And one of the things we've seen is we had some folks from the enterprise system earlier, and they were talking about some new tools you guys have announced either here or shortly before
Yep.
InterConnect around the visibility of gaining visibility into enterprise systems and the whole bimodal thing.
Yeah.
And we don't need to rehash it here
Yeah,
today,
we
but
call it sort of the cute term is cognitive DevOps.
yes.
Yeah,
Well, cognitive's big here at InterConnect
right,
this year.
exactly, and with IBM in general. But it's an appropriate use. You can use cognitive technologies to detect fraud or look at drug interactions that a
Mhm.
human simply could not do on their own. But we have reams of data about how development is progressing. And again, using analytics, we believe we can make some fairly interesting recommendations based on insights we can glean. And the first thing that we've come out with is application delivery intelligence that's focused on optimizing testing because that
Right.
is far and away the biggest bottleneck in enterprise systems.
Sure does.
Primarily done manually. And so if you can cut it down 99% and say only run this 1% of test cases, not the 100, you're getting closer to being able to do true small batch delivery. But
Absolutely.
that's just the tip of the iceberg as
I,
far as the insights we'd like to eventually be able to provide.
so I do believe in the whole realm of cognitive. We really are only at the tip of the iceberg. We barely scratched it. I think, being able to analyze the data, especially in an enterprise, a Z systems kind of situation, where you do have the data that you can, analyze. This whole cognitive way of doing business, in 5 years, it's going to radically change the way
Oh,
we're doing things
for sure. And it's changing in
across.
pockets now, but I think
Yeah,
it'll be much more pervasive
yeah,
down the road.
absolutely. Well, Hayden, we're probably about out of time. Thank you so much for appearing with us on DevOps.com today. Continued good luck and success with the DevOps Enterprise Group, and do keep us apprised of all of the latest.
Happy to do so. Thanks for having me, Alan.
All right,
All right.
Hayden Lindsey, VP DevOps Enterprise Systems at IBM. This is Alan Shimel for DevOps.com from IBM's InterConnect, Las Vegas.